Today on Spill the Tea, we are getting to know our new Betway squad member and a Captain Vusiwe Ngcobo a little bit better if you don't know her. So Vusiwe,
If you
firstly,
don't know
welcome.
her, where have you been?
Like,
I'm
where have you
joking.
been?
I'm joking. No, I'm
In all
joking.
honesty,
No, I'm joking.
you'd almost be like, where have you been? Because yours is like, it's such a long journey,
Absolutely.
I guess the people that know you have kind of grown up with you.
Mhm.
Um,
I've raised a lot of
you,
people.
do you get people that come to you and like, oh, when I was a baby,
Yes,
I
and I'm
said,
like, we were all babies
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
I mean, tell
Yeah,
us about that. You come from, your family is literally music royalty, and just your upbringing. What was that like? Because it's not as normal as everyone else has. You have
it was
superstar parents.
amazing. It was absolutely amazing, but it was normal in every sense of the word
Hmm.
for what normal is and was to me and my siblings.
Yeah,
Because we didn't know any different.
yeah,
We were just dealt the cards we were dealt, and whenever we'd have our friends ask us, so how's this for you? Like, how's it having ubaba nobiyo actually mhlophe noma mina yabo iPhone? We're like,
they are
it's just
parents.
mom and dad.
Yeah,
But because we also got into the industry at a very young age, we had to learn to be extremely disciplined. Because my parents would always say to us, "You are celebrities le." La endlini niyingane, la endlini mawuyenza into engasile uzolithola ibhandi,
yeah,
and that's just literally how we grew up. The most amazing childhood ever. Being able to work with my parents, I would say, is probably the biggest blessing ever.
yeah,
Because it wasn't just working with my parents, it was also with my siblings, which is why we're so close knit and tight to this day. A day doesn't go by where I don't speak to my sister or my brothers, and it's the biggest blessing ever. I think a lot of people don't have what we have, so I don't take it for granted at all.
yeah. As an 8-year-old, did you understand what you were doing, performing as a
No, I
musician?
just wanted to have fun on stage
Yeah,
because we used to watch my parents performing. We used to see people going crazy watching them on stage. And I remember the one time my siblings were like, "Hey guys, easy lento. Lo mama noted when stage, bayacula, abantu bayajabula. Let's also do it." So we actually had put together a demo.
yeah, yeah.
The one time my parents were gone on tour, and when they came back, we played this demo for them. Then we were singing, we were dancing, and we were just like, "Yo guys, Natty, we want to get in on this music thing."
Yeah.
And yeah, I think at the time it was just being inspired by what we grew up seeing and what we grew up knowing.
Yeah.
And we also wanted to experience that. And I mean, my parents were very strict with us from a very young age. They were just like, okay, you guys want to be musicians, we're going to go in all or nothing. If you're half in, half out, we're
It's
not
not gonna
doing it.
work.
So from a very young age, we had to just learn how to differentiate between work and family.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, you find it difficult to differentiate between when my dad is my boss and when my dad is my dad, and when my mom is my boss and when my mom's my mom. And also just between us as siblings, just knowing how to approach each other as business partners, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word. But you figure it out and you adjust as you go. And sometimes it was hard because was like, my dad's like, "Ah, mntana wami uyenzela iti," and you're like,
Like,
and I think we're so blessed that we had parents that were really very strict with setting the boundaries, and
yeah.
this is how we handle work, this is how we handle family life, and yeah, we adjusted.
Do you think that part of the life, being a performing artist, then kind of almost set you up to get into television and becoming a child star, as people said, presenting on your TV?
100%, 100%, because from a very young age, then you learn ukuthi yonke into engiyenzayo, if I'm not giving 100%, I'm not doing it all. That's what I
Yeah.
always say to myself. If I'm not going to be able to give it 100%, 150%, then I'm not even bothering, because one thing you must learn when you are in this industry is that no one is irreplaceable. It doesn't matter how amazing you are. And I think I'm really great at my job. But you learn that there are people that will be more talented than you. There will be people that are more committed than you. There are people that are willing to put in more effort than you. And so you have to be the right amount of everything to make it work, because sometimes people will be like, "Oh my gosh, Vusiwe is so difficult to work with." Let's rather have an average presenter, but someone who will be a joy for everyone in the production to work with. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've always kind of kept at the back of my mind, to say, you're not irreplaceable, but at the same time, I don't think anyone does what I do the way that
Yeah.
I do it. There's just something that I bring in. Something that you bring in,
Yeah.
OJ, OG.
Orange juice.
Oh gee, why
If
am
I,
I
if I,
thinking
if I,
of
if I,
does it
the glove does not
fit?
fit.
Yeah, so it definitely did help me because when I eventually broke into television as a child star, like you were saying, as many people like to call us former TV presenters, I was already pretty determined in what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve, and I knew how I had to go about it. But I was also someone that for most of my life had learned how to juggle being a young kid, having a job, and being a student at the same time because that's
That's
what
what you
my
guys
life
did.
was. I
Yeah.
mean, and my parents were always very clear. The minute your grades at school start to suffer, that's
We
the
stopping
minute we
this other stuff.
pull the
Yeah.
plug on entertainment. But lucky for me, I was always in it.
Come
So
on
it
now.
kind of
Eh?
worked out. It worked out.
Where does, I mean, music makes sense? You grew up watching your parents. Where does sport fit in as a youngster?
I
When you started, yeah.
mean, it's the influence you grow up around, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was my dad and always watching football, my brothers, more so my brother Luminengi Mlamayo, kunefirstborn yasekhaya.
Yeah.
And I was always also a very sporty girl at school. I wanted, like, I think I was just a problem child for my parents in all the best ways because I would want to play everything. I wanted to play netball, I wanted to play hockey. I had to choose between netball and hockey because the seasons clash.
Yeah.
And I was just a netball girl. I wanted to do athletics. I wanted to do the 100 meter, the 200 meter. I wanted to do the long distance, the cross country, the shot put, the long jump, the high jump. I
Everything.
remember one time I even pulled a ligament doing long jump, and I was just like, oh my goodness. But I was just that kid at school. I wanted to be very involved in everything that I could possibly do. So I think it was just that influence of always growing up this very sporty, athletic girl, grow up in a family that loves watching football. My grandmother was such a sucker for football. My
Wow.
gran would watch soccer all day, every day. It wouldn't even matter as long as it was soccer. She would turn on the TV and be like, Gogo, yiphi league le? Athi, "Anamaga, mara ntailang tisa." And so with all of those different influences, I think it was just, it had to happen. There was no other way.
That's such a beautiful part. I mean, so when you eventually then start to work for SABC Sport, I mean, it must be like a realization of a dream. But tell me about, because you kind of make a few pivots in your life. Getting then to work in sport must have another dream come true, I guess, in a sense.
It was indeed, because I think when I eventually so when I was about to leave YoTV, I always used to say, I remember before I got into YoTV, I'd watch other presenters, I'd be like, this one's been here for too long now, and I don't think this one still falls into the category
Of being a
of
kid.
like being a kid. Why are they still here? And that's something I always say to myself, I don't want to do. I was like, I don't want to be that girl that people are watching at home and they're like, oh, we love Vusiwe,
About
but
time now.
can she
Yeah.
leave? So when I decided I was going to leave YoTV, I said, okay, so how do I map up the next move in my career? And I was like, I love presenting. I've been doing live television for the past 5 years now. But something else that I love just as much is sports. And I was like, okay, I've got to find a way to put sports and presenting together and let that be my next journey. And at the time, I don't think we were spoiled for choice in terms of women to look up to, be and inspired by in sports. I mean, SABC at the time had Carol there, they had Cynthia there, and I was like, okay, so there's not a lot here. There's still room for me to just like work my way in. But it always seems like it's an easy journey until you start the journey, because throughout my career, I had always tried to make connections with people wherever I go, so that any day if I pick up the phone and I say, hey, OG, can you do me a favor? You're not like, girl, I
When we
haven't spoken
start.
to you in 5 years.
Yeah.
You're calling me for favors. So I always try to build relationships and maintain those relationships. So then I said to myself, okay, I'm a child of SABC in terms of where my television career started. So it would only make sense for me to try and get into SABC Sports. And I was calling around, and everyone was just sending me from one person to the other, one person to another. Eventually, I met this lady, Mom Elizabeth. They called her Toto at SABC Sports, Mom Elizabeth Malife. And she's like, okay, come see me. So I go and I see her. At this point, OG, I'm not even lying. I had been calling people pillar to post. By the way, I've already resigned from YoTV without
So it's
another
not like
job.
you got to back up.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
didn't, and I'm just like, I can't go back to my parents and be like, oh guys, listen, I know I've been paying for everything for myself now, but
Now I
please
need
pay for
some
my
help.
car, pay for my school fees, because I'm also law school at UJ at the time. And she says to me, you know, I do have something available for you, but it's a voiceover.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm like, okay, so what's the voiceover? And she says it's a show called Sports Buzz. In my mind, I'm just like, how am I? Ngipumugenza in live televisions for 5 years, like on the biggest platform for kids. Now I'm going to be a voiceover artist. Not only that, but I'm a voiceover artist for a bee. Because Sports Buzz was like...
Exactly, I remember.
And I just thought to myself, no way. But then I had a moment and I said to myself, when I watch sport at any given time, I always want to know, where does this person I'm listening to get the credibility from? Whether it's an analyst or a commentator or a presenter, people have worked for years building up their credibility, and for them to be like the voice of reason when it comes to rugby, to soccer, to tennis. And I was like, so Vusiwe, what makes you think you'd be any
Just gonna
different?
jump in
Like,
there
yeah,
and then,
like
yeah.
why would you be any different? And I was like, okay, so we gotta grind. I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna work hard, and I'm going to put in the effort that I need to get to where I want to be. And that's what I did.
Yeah. In the day and age of social media, and I'm sure you get it, especially as a woman in the industry, of people just wanting to get in and
Yeah.
think they're going to start at the level that you're in. Talk to me about that work ethic then, that putting in the 10,000 hours to become credible, and especially as a woman in a male-dominated industry.
It's a lot. It's a lot, because I can tell you of countless experiences that I've had where I'm just like, I am so grateful to God that I have the thick skin that I have, that I was raised in the family that I was raised in, because I think some people would have given up along the way, on the journey, before even reaching the pinnacle of your career. I remember the first time I stepped into a ring to ring announce, because I'm a ring announcer for boxing, and the men, they literally looked disgusted, for lack of a better word. They looked like, what on earth is a woman doing in the ring? And I was like, okay, so it's fine for you to have a woman in a ring, in a costume, half naked, holding around a board, telling you which round you're going to, but it's not okay for a woman to be successful and build herself in the sport that you claim to love, you know? And I was like, okay, fine, if you don't want me to ring announce, show me someone better.
Come on.
And I think that's the confidence you have to have. It's not to say you're the absolute best at everything that you do, but if you don't believe in yourself, how are you convincing everyone else to believe in you? How are you convincing people to give you a chance and give you a go? And I always say to youngsters when I'm training younger people that want to get into the industry, I'm like, your confidence has to go before you wherever you go. If you get onto the screen right now and you say something which is completely wrong, like OJ instead of OG, then someone's going to sit there and be like, there's no way Vusiwe is wrong. Yeah. Surely I'm the one that doesn't know the facts right, you know? And I always say that's the confidence that you have to lead with. I've had games where I get onto the touchline, and I remember getting my makeup done the one time in KZN, and this man from this team, I won't mention which one it was, came to me and he said, what bad luck are you bringing to the team sitting in the dugout? And I thought, Baba, you could have a daughter that is my age.
Like,
if you want to have a conversation, you also have to look at how you're approaching the situation. Just have some sort of empathy, sympathy, humanness. You can't just say to a young woman, you're bad luck just because of my gender, you know? And they actually went on to win that game. And I went to him
so
afterwards and I was
you
like,
to come back for more games.
Where's the bad luck? So it's just you having to really know that it's not going to be an easy journey. I mean, like I said, when I started out, I was just doing voiceovers for Sports Buzz, and I had to constantly prove myself at SABC Sports to be given more and more opportunities. And then it was just like, there's too many people in football. Sorry, you can't do football right now. Oh, sorry, we've got our cricket people that are doing the cricket. Oh, well, rugby, you know? And you just have to believe in yourself and continue fighting. Because when I eventually got the nod to be on camera, it was in marathons. And I mean, if you know, at the time, how many big marathons do we have a year? It's the Comrades, it's the Two Oceans, Cape Town City Marathon, Soweto. So it's not a lot. But with every opportunity I got, I was like, I have to show my worth, and I need to make them ask themselves the question, why are we not giving her more? And that's what I did. So now when people look at me now, And they're like, oh, Vusiwe hosted the SA Sport Awards. Oh, and then she hosted the Gauteng Sports Awards. Oh, and then she hosted this, and then she hosted that. I'm like, guys, I joined SABC Sport just after the 2010 World Cup. We're in 2024. Only now you're
Am I getting
starting
these
to
opportunities?
see me.
Yeah.
So it does take a long time to become an overnight success.
Wow, man, that's great. So if we were to almost tick off some of the goals you would have had, what has been like the dream come trues and the cool stuff you've had opportunity to do and cover?
It's a lot. A lot of times I just sit there and sometimes I get all teary-eyed because I'm just like, the grace of God has been so good in my life. And I know that I'm a hard worker and I know that I'm talented, but it's God's grace.
Yeah.
There are other people that are hard workers. There are other people that are talented. They don't have the opportunities that I have. They don't have the access that I have. So I think God's grace in my life has just been so amazing. So for a lot of people, not a big deal. But in 2012, I did the Olympics and Paralympics in London. And when I was there for the Paralympics, it was just an eye-opening experience because you come across people that have actual limitations that exist, but still refuse to accept those limitations and restrictions. I mean, when you're watching blind people playing football and you say, Vusiwe, you've got 2 legs, you've got 2 hands, you've got 2 eyes, you've got a mouth, you've got ears, there is nothing physically that limits me from doing anything that I want to do, but we still allow our minds to stop us from achieving greatness.
Yeah.
And that for me, and I say that because it was just a beautiful experience to just say, stop it, snap out of it. Whatever you don't achieve will be on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, that's incredible. Probably a good note to stop it at. But I want to actually like give you flowers as well, like to do all of that and still study law and become a lawyer, kick
And
ass
have
at
an
that as well,
MBA.
have an MBA, and like listen, you've done
Thank
incredibly,
you.
and I hope like a lot of, and not just young girls, but even young boys can see the work ethic that you've put in. I mean, from since you were a kid, pretty much,
Yeah.
and still kicking doors, trying to open those. We wanted to say to the Betway squad out there, Vusiwe is here as a captain, so
Thank
it's
you.
awesome to have you on board, and we
Thank
look
you.
forward to the rest of what your career is going to bring.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for welcoming me, not only as part of the Betway squad and as a Betway captain, but just to the people in the industry that always are just so welcoming. I mean, here you are. How many people have you been the path for to get into the industry and to do well and to excel? So thank you so much. Those people that don't say, oh, well, if I teach Vusiwe a thing or two, she may be coming for my job, you know? I work with amazing colleagues, even at SABC Sports. Andile will tell you I nag them all the time. Like, no, please watch because I want you to tell me if I do this and I do that. How does this look? And so thank you to the industry itself, just being welcoming and opening and allowing us, because I feel there's enough for everyone. There really is enough for everyone.
There's enough. This cake is big. We can
It's
all
very
get a slice,
big.
you know?
It's
Yeah.
extremely big. So thank you so much. And yeah, let's go. Betway squad.
So we do. Thank you, Vusiwe.
Thank you.